SEC schools over the whole season during the midweek, depending on where they're located and whatever. But you can see it happening. If it starts happening too much, then you kind of worry. But like I said, last week we went 14-0. So, or not, yeah, last week, like 8 days ago,
You're having that.
8 or 9 days ago.
I know you're old. You're having that much trouble. Remember a week ago?
I'm not having trouble remembering a week ago. I do have trouble remembering like a day or two. But
Just the way you're trying to catch. 8 days. That's a week ago. I do have to issue an apology.
I was trying to be more exact.
I do have to issue an apology, which Rich will tell you doesn't happen. So go ahead and mark your calendars. Am I right, Rich?
Speechless.
I made fun of Blake, the Crash Davis thing. I thought he was making a joke about, buying a Crash Davis.
Mm-hmm.
No. The Durham Bulls, the minor league team, it appears, did a 4th of July version, and he bought one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or he got one, either way.
I didn't even realize you were making a joke.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was
I
a
thought
really
he was
good
just
thing.
having fun with it. No, he sent me a photo of it. It's pretty awesome. That is freaking awesome, actually. So the Crash Davis Bull Durham jersey again. Our question of the now
I
is
like
what
that
I call
better
it.
than a regular, than I'd rather have that than a Judge or a Harper. Well, definitely Harper. I'm not a big Harper fan, but
I don't buy jerseys because they cost too much. That's my first statement.
That's exactly what I just said when you first asked me
I have an
about all
addictive
this.
personality
Yeah.
in general. I do. And if I bought one, I'd probably want 10.
Well, and here's another thing. It used to be kind of a bigger thing, I think, because nowadays they change teams. You could buy a jersey and they change teams. So how many times lately have you seen where the organization will like if they trade somebody away, they say, okay, bring that jersey in, and we'll give you a different of a guy
all the
that's
time.
there now. Yeah.
All the well, that's where you as a fan. Okay, look, you have to make a decision. Are you a fan of the player or the team? Like, did you buy his jersey or the team with his name on the jersey? I think that's a question you have to answer for yourself. Rick Myers texted me from the Tradition Mobile and Lube Express inbox, and he said, and I forgot, I mentioned at the time, the Bloodbath midweek, Incarnate Word beat Texas 3-2. I meant not SEC, but I did mention at the time. It was a bloodbath.
You mentioned Oregon State, so yeah, go ahead and mention Texas.
I just did. Texas lost to the Word, Incarnate Word.
So it would be be interesting. Pen to paper, and figure out how many top 25 teams lost their midweek game, because you're talking a lot of SEC teams. You're talking Texas, talking Oregon State. There's 6, 7, 8 right there.
And the key to midweek is this: who hosts the Super Regional usually comes down to midweek. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the top 10 teams all have check marks in the same boxes at the top. You don't get to be in that position without having the actual top boxes checked. Because if it's that obvious, you're not in the conversation. Seriously, who did not lose the Incarnate Word and who did lose the Incarnate Word, or maybe you have two of those in the midweek, is generally the difference between maybe 7, 8, 9. Because the top boxes are checked, or you can't be in that conversation.
Yeah,
Same thing between 14, 15, 16, hosting that last two regional spots.
And look at A&M's record right now, 25 and 5. No, they have 5 losses, right?
4 losses?
5.
4 losses? I'll go with 5. You know better.
I think it's 5. And I mean,
is it good?
You just got to be impressed with the win-loss percentage. I mean, when you're talking hosting regionals, hosting super regionals. So yeah, you're right. Midweek games might make the difference on that 7, 8, 9, 10.
7, 8, 9. I go 7, 8, 9, and 14.
What's it
It
taste
was
like?
too good to be any sort of healthy. I'm telling you.
You can't eat the whole thing. Even these health bars, don't eat the whole
it's
thing.
just too much. But it was good. It's brownie flavored.
Hey, you know the front table being on their phones this morning reminded me of a conversation you and I had late last night about the Barry Switzer Twitter fiasco. And just it reminded us at the front table trying to use their phones to tweet. And Jose Canseco has been guilty of similar things recently. And it's actually a topic that I had written down. Liucci's thoughts on just the older generation using Twitter, because I see it a lot in
Canseco's using it just to out everybody, whereas he used to have to write a book to do it. Now he
Did
can
you read the book?
No.
That thing does smell like green herb.
All right, well.
Can you get it out of here?
Man, I'm a little baked off this hemp bar. But no, I think, Canseco, he used to have to write a book. Now he can just go to Twitter and out everybody and tell on everybody. And Gabe calls you the tattler. He says you're the tattletale, the office tattletale.
Okay.
Gabe thinks you're the Canseco of the office. He's never said that, but he thinks you're a tattletale. So then
Does
I would
that
say
also imply that I
that
use
would make
steroids?
You the Canseco of the office.
Oh, so he's never said that. Once again, you're
no,
building.
No, but he said you're a tattletale. He calls you the office tattletale. Tattling Timmy, I think, is the exact phrase.
Well, I'll square that with Gabe at some point off the air.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of things.
True.
I know what you're doing. Like, you've got your hand directly at the bottom of the pot, and you're just doing like this.
What would make you say that?
Bottom of the pot.
What would make you say that?
Because that's how you live your life.
Gabe,
I'm just wondering.
Gabe has caught you telling on him so many times because you tell me stuff, so I have to go to Gabe and say, "Hey, Gabe, you can't do that."
Why do I tell you? Because it's ridiculous things.
And he knows where it's coming from, so therefore he's dubbed you the tattler, the office tattletale. And so I've turned that into Canseco.
I don't know. Your life must get tiring at times. Like, it must be very difficult to keep up all the trolling and the narrative fitting.
It does.
24/7.
It's hard work.
How it doesn't cross over, and you get caught up in your own web.
It's from a lifetime of doing such things.
I guess.
Meanwhile, at the end of all this, getting back to the point, all that being said, you're Jose Canseco.
I don't get that.
Minus the 500-foot softball home runs that he's still hitting.
500-foot regular home runs. But
no, now he's doing it with softballs, and he's challenging anyone in his age bracket to a home run derby.
You should do that. Are y'all the same age?
I was thinking you.
I'm not the same age.
But
he's like
you
55.
Can say he'd say, I'm 55. I'm going to beat a 30-year-old. You're not.
I'm sure he could.
Okay.
I've never taken steroids in my life, Billy. I didn't write a book called Juiced. Guys that tend to do that are more strength than normal human beings.
I agree. He also probably could hit a baseball further than you without steroids.
Right now?
Probably. The dude was one of the – all right.
Oh, I agree.
Anyway, the guy hit the ball farther than most to ever do it. So I'm sure even without steroids, he'd hit it pretty far.
You got any Sweet 16 picks? You like any of these games coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I like all the games. It's the benefit of having the – we've heard it a million. I don't want to say the same thing that everyone said, but it's true, is the benefit of having I'm not going to use the word because Gabe has beat it into the freaking ground this year.
He's tattling.
It's the C word, and he has just worn it out.
I don't know what it is.
Your teacher would write on a C word board in elementary school.
Chalk.
Yeah.
Chalk.
the having that all the favorites win. There's no Sister Jean, there's no Shaka Smart fooling Texas into paying him a lot of money to hire him because his VCU teams pounded on the floor and played defense. His Texas teams pound on the floor and get humiliated. There's no George Mason and 97-year-old Jim Larinaga doing some ridiculous locker room dance. There's no, Butler. But you got 16 really good teams still left in the tournament, which means they're going to be 8 really good basketball games this weekend. And, I'm going to pay particular interest to Virginia Tech Duke, and I think the listeners know exactly why I'm going to be doing that. I think U of H is going to beat Kentucky. Put me down in that boat.
I had U of H in my Final Four.
I do not want the Cougars going to Elite Eight or Final Four. It will bring back some memories for me. I do like.
Said Kelvin Sampson's on his way out, though.
Well, I mean.
I saw it on Twitter this morning that the Arkansas journalists have already started digging, and it's looking like he's going to be leaving.
Yeah, well,
apparently the U of H.
I was told differently yesterday.
The Arkansas athletic director and came from U of H.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
He did. But there's also a team owner down there at U of H by the name of Tillman Fertitta. And if he decides that he doesn't want to lose Kelvin Sampson, that'd be an interesting bidding war. The Walmart money at Arkansas.
So which of the SEC teams
if
do you
Fertitta
think
decided he didn't want to let Kelvin Sampson go?
Which of the SEC teams do you think have the best shot at getting into a Final Four?
SEC, out of the four, which, by the way, there's four SEC teams in the Sweet 16. There's one Big 12 team. It's a humiliating effort by the Big 12 Conference this year. One true champion should be changed to one team gets out of the second weekend there. For all the bragging they did, for going 3-1 against the SEC in bowls and beating Vandy and Missouri out of the East. So 1-1 against real teams and 2-0 against Vandy and Missouri.
I do think Tech's about to wipe the floor with
last-minute games. You
I don't
think
think
Tech's going to wipe the floor with Michigan?
I don't think Michigan scores well.
Okay.
They've been really consistent scoring the ball all year, and Tech will defend, and they've got better athletes.
I like Tech in that game, but if you're going to underestimate John Beilein, you haven't watched them in the last couple of years in the tournament. Beilein and Izzo, right, are two guys that, like, Izzo's taking on LSU, Beilein. Thing is, I think Beard's really good too, so that one tends to bounce out more. Izzo versus LSU, right? That one's going to be really – that's probably the game I'm most interested in this weekend. That and Kentucky U of H, because I think U of H can score this win and kind of shock.
Like Tennessee, Purdue, I think
everyone in college basketball is sleeping on U of H, when they beat Kentucky.
Yeah. But I think that the Tennessee, to me, is the best the SEC team with the best chance to move on and get to a Final Four. I don't trust Virginia in the tournament, and they've got Purdue, who
I agree with you.
Purdue, I do think the Big Ten is a really good basketball conference, and they've shown that in the postseason.
Auburn, North Carolina is going to be a hell of a game. Can North Carolina do what they couldn't do against A&M last year and handle an uber athletic team out of the SEC that comes in like white hot?
I saw a tweet that said they ought to let Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley commentate that game.
Yeah, I saw that. That'd be fun. You were talking – how long – tell me, since there's been one team in this state, I think U of H was in the Final Four, was it 83-84? I think 83-84. They lost to NC State and maybe Georgetown in back-to-back years. NC State, with the buzzer beater, the buzzer beater by Wittenberg I think his name was Wittenberg. And then they lost to Patrick Ewing in Georgetown. That was the year Ewing and Georgetown, I think, lost to Villanova, if I'm not mistaken. But I was a little kid in Houston. That was the last time. There's been one exception since. So from 80, let's just say 85 to 20. Not say 84 to 2019. So 35 years, right? There's been one Texas team go to a Final Four. The Longhorns with TJ Ford did it one time. That's it. In 35 years. One team from this state, of all the schools, the entire Southwest Conference, the Big 12, the A&M and the SEC now, and all the smaller schools that haven't been in those conferences, one time been to a Final Four. And you go look at the teams that have been
bizarre.
Since then. You go look at some of the teams that have been since then. We said some of them at the start of the show, right? For not one team from this state, it's actually quite pitiful. That streak could come to an end by the end of this weekend. whether it's Tech or U of H. They really both – and the reason why is they play
both
that
can
kind of
do it,
defense.
and they both can do it.
And they
They
play
both-
defense. Yep.
I mean, how crazy would it be to see a Tech U of H final? I don't think we'll get there.
You know who else could be in the Final Four after this weekend? It's unlikely, but, Buzz Williams.
He
They beat
always
Duke.
plays Duke well.
And they do, and
It's
they
like
beat
Jimbo
they beat
with Clemson.
Duke. There's matchups.
Yeah.
It's a stylistically, it's this coach versus that coach, but it's just like Texas A&M always played Kentucky. Not always, they played them a lot, but Billy Kennedy, his teams gave John Calipari teams fits. Comparatively speaking, when you look at what Kentucky did to the rest of the world versus what they were doing against A&M beat them in Rupp. There were several overtime games. There were those two classics, the year the Aggies won the regular season SEC, lost the conference title game. There was the year Kentucky went undefeated. Texas A&M was in a huge lead and took them to overtime. The year Kentucky, lost in the semis. They were trying to be undefeated team. So, anyway, yeah, it could be Buzz Williams. Wouldn't that make for an interesting storyline?
It'd get real interesting around here. Do you think that's salted?
I know better than to say something's done before the coach is signed and on the plane going somewhere. So, to answer your question, I would say no, but I'm just using a technicality there.
On the other side of the break, we'll look at spring football stuff from Liucci. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on The Zone. On 102.7 FM, I'm your host, Ryan Brauninger, with Billy Liucci here on the stage at the Tap on Harvey Road. Don't forget, Monday nights karaoke, Wednesday nights piano bar from here at the Tap. Tuesdays and Fridays starting at 6, they will be serving crawfish. Luch, opening day of Major League Baseball, and I wanted to take that kind of theme and play a little game with you. I'm going to Gabe game with you.
All right.
And just using what you know about the A&M football team, the 2019 version of the A&M football team so far in spring ball, we're going to use some baseball terms, and you're going to tell me who fits this mold on the base. What's squeaking? Is that you?
It's
the table.
table.
I mean, do some.
Sorry to distract you.
Yeah, well, it was just. I mean,
slight
you were
noise.
doing it on purpose at the time. Superlatives that would fit the A&M football team that are baseball superlatives. Now you're doing it on purpose.
No, I'm not. It's just every movement I make.
All right. So who would you consider this A&M football team's ace? And let's do offense and defense because it's easy to, I think.
Yeah, an ace is going to be your pitcher. It's going
Yeah.
to be your quarterback. I get it. To me, that would be like it is, though. I think last year your ace wasn't a pitcher. Your ace was Travion Williams. That's who you'd go to when you needed a win, when you needed to set the tone. And he was your ace and your closer. But I think Kellen Mond's gone from being, your number 2 to your ace. I mean, I think he's got to be, and he's not. We can't just assume he's there. I don't think you can just assume that, but I think you can assume that he's going to get better. I think from what I've been hearing out at spring practices, he hasn't had a bad day yet, and there's been maybe like one day that he hasn't been, where he hasn't been as good as the others, and that's per him. That's what he told me. That yesterday wasn't as good, whatever, but. That was at Pro Day the other day. But Kellen's been really good. He's comfortable. What I've heard is he's taken on a much greater leadership role out there. And by that I mean vocal leader, which we saw emotion out of him. We saw poise and leadership. We saw people don't realize, he was a fiery guy out there. He just wasn't a lunatic, but he was a fiery guy.
Yeah, he's just kind of to himself.
But, he would celebrate touchdowns and get pumped up after a good run. But he's been more of a vocal leader, so that's been good. I think it's Kellen Mond. I think he's your tone setter. He's a guy that when he's on, and if he is 20% better than he was last year, he might be the second best quarterback in the SEC.
Who'd be your ace on defense?
I would go with Justin Matabike.
That's where I thought
I just think he's now. I don't know where you're going to go with this because do you have a cleanup hitter?
Yep.
That might be Matabike because he's just freaking. But I'd go Matabike. I just think by ace in the way you're using, I think you're saying who's your best player. I think it's Justin Matabike. I think he can take over games with help. The help he's got is pretty damn impressive. But those guys inside with him leading the way, they have the potential to wipe out running games before they get started and make the linebackers look a lot better. And I think as an interior pass rusher, he's going to be hell on wheels this year. I think people are going to have a nightmare blocking him.
Your closer.
Especially if Bobby Brown's beside him.
Yeah, and so from ace to closer, the guy that will help you finish games on each side of the ball.
Yeah, I think defensively, I don't even know. I mean, I don't know where we're going with this. Closeout games. I'm going to say I'm going to go out on a limb here and go with I'm going to take a leap and say Leon O'Neal. I think Leon O'Neal's going to have a knack for making a big play.
I was going to go with Tyree Johnson.
I almost did because I'm thinking end drives, a pass rusher, and I thought he was going to be the best. In my head, I was going between him and Clemens, and I think Tyree's going to be a better just pure flash pass rusher. But I'm going to go Leon O'Neal. I think he's going to have a knack for coming up with a big, like that interception Donovan Wilson had against Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get, not necessarily on the final drive, but 2 or 3 of those plays this year from Leon that kind of shut the door on an opponent. I think he's going to have a knack for that.
All right. What offensively closers it easy as Kendrick Rogers?
Well, because
that's what he's done so far.
But he did it in one game, really. I mean, the Clemson game, he made some big catches, but they didn't close any. I would say that's Jashawn Corbin, because I think Jashawn Corbin and that running game.
Vernon Jackson over Jashawn for that category.
Just because he's bigger.
And that's how you're going to eat away clock.
No, I think Corbin can do that. I think your best running back can do that, and I also think there's going to be, like Travion had. Think Travion versus Ole Miss. I think you're going to see some of that from Corbin. Travion versus Ole Miss. Travion versus UAB. Some of these games where NC State, obviously, were explosive long runs to ice it. You're up 3 in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, and Corbin goes 45 yards to the house to put you up 10. But I also think he's going to rack up a lot of yards late in games and be that closer you're talking about. Now, Vernon Jackson and Cordarian Richardson and maybe Deneric Prince, maybe Isaiah Spiller, those guys are going to play a big role in that too. But I just think that A&M ground game is going to wear teams down, and in the fourth quarter, it's going to be Corbin. And because you have a stable, fresh legs, and he's going to hit some home runs to end it.
What about a pinch hitter? It's a guy that's going to come off the bench, maybe like Kendrick did last year, is under the radar, going to come off the bench and really surprise people. I think I know where you're going to go on defense because I've heard this name on the phone from you.
I don't know where I'm. Defensively, I've said a guy to watch is Jeremiah Martin.
That's what I thought.
He would be near the top of my list there. It could be. Unless unless some of these freshmen come in and beat him out, it could be someone like Clifford Chapman.
The Loch Ness Monster.
Playing in that nickel spot and creating some real problems, near the line of scrimmage with his height, his length, and his ability to cover. That would kind of be a role that you could almost see, like that combination of he and Elam being really good for Mike Elko in that defense. Offensively, I think I'll go back to those running backs. I think those running backs, the guys we didn't mention besides Corbin, you're going to see some of them have some really nice games for the Aggies.
Yeah, I thought you may go Caleb Chapman there.
Yeah,
because of how he was.
I know what you're going. You're subtly putting in your answers. Let's just call them your answers. You think I might go there? Just say I would go.
I would.
You think I would go?
Well,
you like Chapman because y'all have right now. You're going for a similar beard as his.
No, he looks like Bryce Harper. He's got the Bryce Harper beard going on right now.
If Chapman is healthy, he's gonna, and he should be by. He's already out there making plays, but he should be fully back by the fall. I expect him to be an impact newcomer, no doubt about it.
Last one.
Somebody just hit a home run for the Yankees.
Yeah, looks like it.
Start the parade. A team's up and ahead in game 1 of 162. It's opening day.
Well, that's your
everybody.
favorite team when they're winning. I don't know what you're going to do with the
They're
Astros,
not my favorite.
Yankees
The Astros I like the Astros better. I rooted for the Astros when they played each other.
Well, I had a utility category if you wanted to answer that, and that could be just one guy for the whole team. Do it like you could use Gilly last year.
Yeah,
you could have used a Rashad Paul. You could use a Elijah Blades if you think that's going to be it.
I get it. I'll go Corbin because I think he's going to catch passes a lot, like a lot of passes. Like if he's healthy all year, like 40 passes, maybe even more. I think catching the ball, running the football, return game. I think it's Jashawn Corbin.
On the other side of the break, I want to get Liucci's World Series picks, and we'll continue this conversation about spring football. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on The Zone. trying to feed me your hemp bar.
Well, it said you said you've got a big workout today. You got a big. This is your pro day today.
No, but I think this candy bar is like making you irritable.
It says it gives you energy for 3 to 4 hours.
I think it's done the opposite of you. I don't know.
Bars provide 3 to 4 hours of energy without added sugars, fillers, oils, or sulfates.
Well, it's made you act funny.
No sulfate, so you won't fart. Lord knows you'd probably be doing that during your bench press.
Well, some people do it.
You
all the
seem
time.
like the guy that nobody wants to spot at the gym.
Oh, everybody does.
Just,
they want to come see the show.
Come spot me on this 400. And then the poor bastard who decides to spot him has to help him load up.
You know who that is, though.
Has to help him load up all the 45-pound plates. Maybe I'll just go be your spotter, and it'll be a good workout for me.
Yeah.
Pick up a 45-pound plate, put it up. Set it down, put it on. Set it down, put it on.
I spoke to that. Me and Brandon Jones spoke to that group in Austin on Tuesday, and one of the guys says, yeah, I kind of read too much of your stuff. I know you probably got a workout to go do. He goes, you got to get Billy in there. And I just gut laughed. I mean, big belly laughed at that.
I had a girl this weekend that she told me when I was in Dallas, she's like, she teaches workout classes, Pilates and spin, whatever.
I would pay serious
And I'm
money.
sitting there, and we're at Lululemon, because that's if you do that, then you have to shop there, whatever. But so we're sitting there, and the guy at the checkout is like, thing about Dallas is these people all go to all these different classes around town, and they're like, I think they even have a name for what they call themselves.
Pretentious?
No, well, that too, but it's like they're like gypsies, they go around to all the different, you don't go to one workout class, you're kind of a nomad or a gyp, whatever the word is.
A workout gypsy.
But they're talking back and forth. The guy's like, yeah, I go to this one and this one. And he's like, so do you go with her or do y'all go together? And first of all, we're not like a thing, so that was sufficiently awkward. And then the guy, and she goes like this. She goes, him? No. She's like, he couldn't finish one work. And I'm like, and she's, around 30. I go, let me just tell you what I was doing at 30, just so we're clear. And she was like,
old pictures.
She's like, oh, I couldn't picture that. There's no way.
With you
There's no way you ever worked out, she said. Get out of here.
The picture you showed me last week did look like you had been in the gym before.
Thank you.
And it had the sweaty baby Huey in it, Seth McKinney.
Sweaty Seth.
Was he predominantly sweaty back in the day? He thinks he's calmed down a little bit. He seems like he may have been sweaty back in his playing days.
Yeah,
Hey, what do you think about Gary Blair? Sweet 16 up in Chicago. Notre Dame, which is tough, but they've beaten them before in the postseason. This is going to take a huge effort from
Here's
Kennedy
the
Carter.
deal with women's college basketball to me. There's usually about 5 teams with an actual chance to win it. And there might be about 6 teams with a real shot to go to a Final Four, maybe 7 at best.
Is it that much different than college football?
Yeah, I do think so. I do.
Think the talent's more distributed?
I think that the amount of times that the number 4 team in college, number 3 team in college football would beat the number 10 team, or the number 10 would beat the number 3, would be much greater than the number 10 beating the number 3 in women's college basketball. I just think there's still an elite ruling class, and A&M's been a member of that. They're trying to get back to it. They've made strides to get there this year. Their team should be better next year. So
this is really good.
This is no knock on where they're heading, but for this particular game, I think it's such a tall order to go and beat one of those 3-4 teams, and Notre Dame certainly is one. Although, like you said, Texas A&M has had some success against Notre Dame. Gary Blair's had success against the Irish. His staff has, and then on top of that, Kennedy Carter is kind of
the best women's player I've ever seen here.
The biggest X factor, because who's to say that she can't go for 30, 35 points and keep that thing close and give A&M a chance to win. So because of that, yeah, I mean, I would rather them not be playing. I would rather them be playing Notre Dame right now than Mississippi State. with the way those games have gone. So I think of the best 3 or 4 teams in the country, okay, let's just play Notre Dame and see what happens. Yeah, and it's one of those deals. You never know, but it's a tall task.
I wanted to get some of your thoughts because we got some questions from here at the tap about some players that we haven't talked about much in spring ball. Just get your opinion. And just want to, first of all, start off with Deneric Prince, a name that keeps popping up. What about him do you think has been good, or have you heard it's been good so far this spring that's impressed?
I just think he's got some real juice in that backfield. There's that real explosive burst. He can be a home run hitter. He's really the off season has been good for him. You know, the weight room under Jerry Schmidt, and it's showing out there. And he looks like, a lot of people. There were people asking on the boards, well, I heard he's in Houston and he's transferred. He's already gone. He's already out of here. And
why does the board imitation sound like me?
It's a good question. Maybe you need to ask yourself that.
I feel like that's.
But anyway, Deneric Prince has been, he's been one of the pleasant surprises early going. But it's a crowded backfield there. I mean, I've heard good things. I've heard good things about Cordarian. I've heard good things about Vernon Jackson. We've heard a lot of good things about Jashawn Corbin before he pulled his hamstring. So that backfield has been, again, Jay Graham's going to have his dudes ready to play. He's going to recruit really good running backs. It's one of the positions that I'm just like least worried about. I feel like if we're going to talk about the Jimbo Fisher tenure, I think running back's going to be a position that you're always going to look up. It doesn't matter how many stars the guys have. There's always going to be some high-star guys in there because he's going to recruit at that level too. But then even the ones that don't, and when we sit there and try to break down how the position battle is going to go, they're going to be guys that rise up. I think he's a hell of a coach. And so much talk is about A&M keeping Mike Elko and keeping him from taking that Temple job, which I think was the single biggest development in the offseason. But keeping Jay Graham does not get near enough run that you were able to keep him from his alma mater in Tennessee. That was some really nice, fast work that was done by Jimbo Fisher, Mark Robinson, who is Jimbo's right-hand man when it comes to all that stuff, and Scott Woodward in the administration.
The other question we had was about Muhammad Diallo. And if it's not as –
what was the question?
Well, it was – what time does Muhammad Diallo have in the 40? If somebody's being a little snarky because
he's hurt.
He's hurt
yeah.
and he was running on a gimp.
Practicing hurt, which a lot of guys don't do, so I'll give him credit. A big man that practices hurt is rare. Those 300-pounders, as soon as they get hurt, they want to take a day off typically. And so, yeah, it's real mature to see a guy limping on tape and make a comment about him being slow. There's other comments from the front table that show a little lack of maturity that I wouldn't have expected today from the front right corner.
But if Diallo, you're just call him out. I mean, you use his name. We have before. He knows who we're talking about.
I don't know if he was the Diallo guy or not.
Diallo, if he's not ready to play, is it as deep inside as we think? Because he's probably going to run second team, huh?
I don't know if he'd run second. I mean, obviously the three that stand out are Peavy, Matabike, and Brown. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, Derek Hunter as a true freshman is turning heads. And then they've got other – there are going to be a lot of snaps where there's just one inside guy in theory, or maybe you got Matabike at end where they lined him up some last year on a three-man front. But who's your fourth guy? I mean, I could see it being Derek Hunter or Diallo. And then you've got some of those guys that aren't like pure inside guys that you could slide in like a Max Wright.
Yeah.
So,
Josh Rogers, who you said last fall camp was doing well.
Rogers and
Moten.
Rogers and Moten. And they have those three guys, Rogers, Moten, and Diallo. You would love to see one of those three kind of take that next step up. Diallo's the most physically gifted of all of them. I mean, he's first-round measurables.
Talent, yeah.
But, there's a huge transition. I think people forget this guy was discovered after high school playing basketball in Canada and played in like a high school football all-star game, then got a scholarship to the JUCO, and then had A&M, Oregon, and even Alabama coming after him, out of the JUCO. But he's still as raw a football player as there probably – yeah, I say probably. He's as raw a football player as there is on the Texas A&M 85-man roster in terms of how much football he's played in his life.
Sure.
So give it some time. But one of those three you'd love to see step up and be a capable to where you go, okay, here's our two deep, here's our two deep. But if not, I think Derek Hunter is going to be prepared to do that.
I'm interested to see what they do with Max Wright with 265, 275 area and better athlete than people think. He played, if you remember that Ole Miss game, he was playing the nose late in those passing situations. I think he's your biggest swing guy. Obviously, Bobby can do it because of his athleticism. You can slide him out there. But in terms of a guy that's like Kingsley, maybe the guy that's built most like Kingsley is Derek Hunter and Max Wright right now.
Oh,
and I think Kingsley provided – his versatility provided you like with so many options. And I think it was completely unselfish for him to do. But I think it helped his career and obviously helped the defense.
Helped him out a lot. And I think New England's really keen on Kiki right now just because of that very reason.
Hey, I wanted to ask you before we go to
being able to play inside and out.
This final break before we go to it, Gilly's pro day really helped himself.
I think he and Keaton Sutherland were the two guys that helped themselves the most on Tuesday. Keaton at 6'5 plus and 316 pounds ran like a 5'1", I think 5'16" or a 5'11", 40, vertical 36 inches, posted 27 reps on the bench, and really moved around well. I know when the new staff got here, they were like, man, that guy's got high draft pick measurables. He just doesn't always play like he you like to see a little more of a
he also went
nasty streak in him, but he's also hurt a lot, or he had been. So we're not talking about a high draft pick, but he may have played his way into the draft. And I was getting a buddy of mine yesterday was like, well, I'd like to have seen him actually block. I go, and then Hunter said what kept him from getting on the field because Hunter was so impressed with him. I said, well, first of all, Hunter, he started 32 games in his career, so he got on the field. Last I checked, 30-something starts. He got on the field. He's a 2-year starter. Second, I think we forget these guys are blocking.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do that in the Big 12. More so in the 90s you did. Like the first,
early 2000s,
8 years of the Big 12, not the last 8 years, and certainly not now. Way more so than what Hunter and his linemen faced in the Southwest Conference. These guys are going up against
dudes,
savages week after week. NFL first-round guys, badasses from when they play Florida and they faced the cowboy from Wyoming there that nobody knew about that came out there and looked like J.J. Watt. That was I don't even know if Sutherland might have been hurt that game actually, but that was when McCollum and those guys had their hands full. That's a learning process. And then, then all the guys at Alabama, a former 2-star in Allen from Kentucky. You go, Clemson. These guys every week, Auburn, the teams,
LSU.
Every single week are playing guys that are better than a lot of teams faced all year in A&M history up front. I mean, and so these linemen – you got to kind of grade them a little differently. So when you're looking at Keaton Sutherland, you go, was he dominant? No. We're not talking about drafting him in the first, second, third round. But we're talking about the guy's been tested. And if he's got any kind of good tape to put on against some of these cats and test the way he does and is a swing guy that could play either guard and play in a pinch tackle because he's so athletic and flexible, then maybe he worked out his way into the draft. It remains to be seen. Same for Gilly. And I talked to two coaches who basically are like, I'm going to stand on the table for us to draft him in the later rounds.
And I talked to a guy that talked to another one.
And I talked to a guy that talked to another one. So now you're at 4. So you got 4 guys. Like, he really opened some eyes and turned a lot of heads with that showing, man. I mean, he ran. I think a lot of scouts got him at around like right at around a 4.5. He officially a 4.57. I think a lot of them got him in the low 4.5s, right around a 4.5 at 235 pounds at 6'2". Thing about Gilly is this, and I don't know why Gabe didn't have me on the next day to talk about it. It's kind of absurd, but he is a guy that could be a 4 or 5 phase special teams guy. So if you're going to draft in the 6th or 7th round, right, and you go, this guy athletically is there, his ball skills are exceptional for a fullback, H-back guy, and he's going to play right off the rip, play well for about 25 snaps a game.
Yep.
Okay, and then he could play fullback, he could be an H-back, he could do those things, and you really start to think, what's he going to look like in a year with NFL coaching where it's his full-time job to learn to play this position that he's only played for 1 year? What's he going to look like in 2 years? You're going to get an absolute bargain if you draft this guy in the 7th round. He's going to make your team. He's going to be on every special teams, and you might have found a fullback for the next however many years if you use him. I think he's going to be like an H-back type of guy that you can just move around the formation. He's going to be very versatile. He's got to learn that, though, and that's going to have to come gradually with time. But when you look at what he did, and, man, then I say pop in the tape. I talked to one NFL guy that says, I love the kid. I haven't even watched a snap of him yet. I said, go watch him decleat and decapitate a kick returner at Tennessee, cause a fumble. Go watch him block a punt in the 4th quarter of a competitive game against Alabama. Watch him catch a pass and run for catch a pass for 10, 15 yards and run for 8 yards against Clemson in the 1st quarter again.
Kick out Josh Allen.
Watch him kick out Josh Allen on a touchdown run at the end of a game. Watch him return a freaking kickoff in the 4th quarter with A&M down 7 or 3, whatever it was. Take a kickoff and run it from, a pooch kick and run it out to midfield against an SEC team in Arkansas and come 1 block away from housing it. And, watch him catch a pass late in the game in the second half against LSU and go for about 15 or 20. So I'm just saying these guys were liking him. They haven't even really that he's not the type guy that you're going to go do a bunch of extensive film study for. Then you're going to see him, and you're going to go, oh, I got to go back and see what this guy can do.
Real short segment on the other side of the break to close the show. You listen to Beliucci Hour Lunch live on The Zone.
Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes can land you on the wrong side of the law. If so, you need someone on your side. Steve Gustitis, attorney at law, has over 20 years' experience fighting felony and misdemeanor charges. Steve Gustitis will fight for you. Call now to set up your free consultation, 823-9111. Qualified people are ready to take your call. Call 823-9111 or visit GustitisLaw.com to see how Steve Gustitis can put the law on your side.
For your car, your home, your business too, Acme Glass takes care of you. For over 60 years, we're the clear leader. Our quality and value keeps shining through. For repair and replacement on all kinds of glass, you can trust Acme for quality that lasts. Where quality and value keep shining through. Acme Glass, we're the clear leader.
Crest Roofing and Remodeling says, parents, don't let the mystery of drugs or alcohol use draw your child into their abuse. Talk to them. An informed child has less reason to be involved. Be a patient parent and help them make wise decisions for their future. This message is from Crest Roofing and Remodeling right here in College Station, specializing in residential re-roofs, insurance adjuster, and roof inspections. Call for free estimates at 690-4000. That's 690-4000. Crest Roofing, wishing everyone a safe and healthy spring season. Kelly Burt Dozer has been clearing the path for progress for over 35 years. So before construction ever starts on any new home or business, your first thought and your first phone call should be Kelly Burt Dozer. Since 1978, Kelly Burt Dozer has handled hundreds of jobs throughout the Brazos Valley. They know the obstacles you must overcome to successfully excavate and fully prepare this terrain with efficient solutions to ensure a job well done, no matter your time frame or budget. That's Kelly Burt Dozer. Call 778-1902 or click kellyburtdozer.com.
The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Oh, what a great audience. Let's dim the lights for this next one. Nope, too much. There it is. Gotta get things just right. Like Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay, and we help you find coverage options that fit your budget. And now, the mood is right. Wait, the lights are back on again. Trudy, can you? And now it's completely dark.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hi, I'm Nate Bender, host of Checkpoint XP, gaming radio for gamers by gamers. Join me and my friends every Saturday night at 10 here on Sports Radio 1150 and the Zone 102.7 FM as we talk about the latest news and events from around the world of video games and esports scene. Every Saturday night from 10 till midnight, you can hear Checkpoint XP here on the Zone, or you can catch us on demand at the Pod Center at zone1150.com.
Final couple minutes here of the Beliucci Hour lunch with you here on the stage at the tap on Harvey Road. We're not on Harvey Road. We're at the tap on Harvey Road. Luch got about a minute, okay? And
right.
I want to get your World Series pick.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Because I know you struggle with this every night between about halfway through the season. I'm going to try to pull this up if the Astros or Yankees are doing better than the other.
I'm going to go Astros.
Over.
Astros over the Red Sox.
That's in the same.
Shut those buffoons at Barstool up.
That's for the pennant.
Ass clown
for
central. They're gonna shut them down. The Astros are gonna beat the Red Sox to go to the World Series. Yes, I'm aware they're both in the American League.
Okay.
I'm not. What are they? 15 years ago did they switch? Something like that. So the Stros over the Red Sox to go. So that means I don't have the Yankees even getting to the ALCS. Oh, National League. What a beat down that is. You know, I might do it.
Your third team?
I'm going to go Dodgers 3 years in a row.
Your third team. I'm going to go.
They're not my third team.
I'm going to go Astros over the Milwaukee Brewers to win the World Championship.
Oh, wow.
Bring it back to Houston.
And I am going Astros to win it and win 2 out of 3.
All right, Luch, thanks you so much.
I think this is going to be a hell of a 5-year run for the Astros, and we are really 3 years into it.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on Monday. Don't forget tonight, Olsen Field, Mizzou comes.